Broke my stream. For bad juju. Guess we'll find out. Alright. Still stuttering? I think I just hit the affinity. Oops, wrong one. Let's find out. So I'm a little worried because I didn't, if this fixed it, I didn't change anything except double check the connections. It's possible something got knocked a little loose. Also quite possible. Still a problem? Staticky. Better or worse? Almost like the gain's up too high right now. Dude, the first thing I always have to ask myself is like, what the fuck has changed, right? And disturbingly, it's almost always nothing has changed. Yeah, I just killed the noise gate though, is what you're hearing, chat. So it's not activating now when I talk, it's just always active. But even then, it shouldn't be this loud. Right, but it's kind of a half solution, right? If it only activates when I talk, because what that means is actually there's noise on the line somewhere, but it's just cutting the mic a lot more, which doesn't it's only a half solution, right? It's not a full solution. So what the fuck has changed since yesterday? I guess I knocked the mic once or twice. Could it be loose wires? All right, I'm gonna try and keep talking and move some wires, like hold some wires physically, just to see if that changes anything. Try to let me know if something changes. But I'm not expecting it to with this, because I don't actually think that's the issue. We'll see. Anything? So it feels like I'm hitting higher. I don't know why the gain would have changed, but it feels like a gain thing right now. Like suddenly my gain is much higher than it was, which will make things, it will pick up things more in the background. Although, I'm not sure why it would pick up static. It depends what that is. If it's just a noise amplified, that would do it too. Gain, G-A-I-N. The fuck is... The problem is which gain do we mess with? Or rather, where do we look at the gain? I didn't really want to do this morning, but I guess that is not something I'm deciding. Huh. The problem with these things is it's always so hard to tell if anything's actually happening here. So where in the convoluted audio bullshit is this? In other words, where are the gains coming in? Okay, I don't think there's one there. Well, barely audible with the noise gate just means not happening as often, right? I mean, I can knock this down a bit. Let's see, not hitting quite as many yellows here. So what about when I get excited? That's a little bit better. So the volume might be slightly better there. But I'm not sure. I might just be barking up the wrong tree here. Turn the filters back on, which I think will help the consistency of it. I'm not sure it will help when I'm talking. Turn the static noise down. No, I turned the whole mic down. Different. It depends what it is. You know, have you ever turned the gain way the fuck up on a mic and it picks up like that background hum kind of deal, right? Of course, I can't hear any of my own stream here, so I'm kind of curious what it is. I guess I need to fire up my own stream. Bump our viewer count up 1. Easy game. That's a lot better. Well, it's here. 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 Well, it's here.
You have returned.
If you're happy and you know it.
Like, so that's the webcam mic, which of course is a pile of shit, don't get me wrong, but the fact that that immediately inputs is a bit weird. Indicators on my amps are still present. I just have the virtual, right? And no, there's no indicator at all on the amp right now, which is why I think it's the mic. Sure, it sounds like a Zoom call. It's because it's the webcam mic. Yes, chat. We're not proposing this as a final solution. Okay, for sure. All right. So next thing I guess is we can try circumventing the software on the mic by inputting directly through the mic input instead of through the software input. So we'll try that next. You know what I love doing, chat? I love live testing audio. It's one of my favorite things to do in the world. All right, we'll try this one. Yeah, so that's a no-go. So it's not the software on the mic. Cut out for a minute too, right before I did the restart, right? Why would restarting fix a physical issue? I mean, I can pull segments of it, like I can pull the cloud lifter. I have another preamp. But I think it's the fucking mic. Like I need the mic to do something. I did turn it off and reboot already. Unluckiest streamer ever? Yeah, we still don't know what I did in my last life, but it was pretty heinous. It's fairly obvious that I have a huge karmic debt that must be repaid on all levels, across all domains related to streaming. Thanks, Nobu. I appreciate the early Christmas present. All right, is Mike still dead? It's annoying too. It's a fairly expensive mic. Restarting sinks power that was held physically in the capacitance of the line. Okay. Can we use that information at all usefully for troubleshooting? Because that doesn't mean anything to me particularly. I mean, it's ultimately kind of irrelevant if I stream today or not, but if it's a physical mic issue, that doesn't get fixed by leaving it a day or two. That means I have to order new physical hardware. Yeah, I have tried physically unplugging it for a few seconds. Man, I didn't knock this mic hard. I'm not seeing loose wires. It doesn't get better when I like bend wires around. And the connection, I've just rechecked the entire connection all the way through, like unconnecting and reconnecting to make sure it's not that. So I'm kind of a little confused as to what that even means. The mic maybe just was something internal was loose and knocking it one more time was enough to fuck it. I don't know if these things have lifetime warranties either. I gotta find out, I guess. Had the thing like 5 years or something, but still. Plug the mic directly into a laptop. No. Either amp hotter than normal. No, they're not putting out any heat. Fuck. Awesome. What else can I do with the mic to physically test it? into another device makes the most sense, but I guess I could pull out all the shit in between. I guess I can get the other preamp out. 2 seconds. You know, I just had the thought too, chat. I can't help but blame this on the internet. In the sense that I've had to move this setup an extra 6 times or something because of internet issues. Moved it to my in-laws, moved it to the office. So moved it to my in-laws, then back, then to the office, then back. And if it is knocking something loose in the mic, ugh. Wonder why the fuck the green screen is suddenly going out too. Presumably it's terrible doing this chat while the computer's on too, by the way. So what do you guys think? Electrical short, fire, house burns down? Maybe wife dies in the fire? She went back to save the coffee maker and didn't make it out. Seems probably about right. Okay. One heart, one mind. Do you know how hot that... What is this little piece called again? This piece here? Can't remember, the one we bought for helicopters? Because I can't remember what the fuck that's called. That was a little warm. I don't know if it was hotter than normal. I don't normally touch it. Alright, so I've just changed the preamp for the mic. Just trying to remember if there's anything else I had to do for this. The ground loop isolator was a bit warm. I don't know if that's supposed to be warm though. Alright, so let's try this now. There should be a mic input, audio input capture. Shouldn't it be hot? Well, it's definitely warm. You want to define the difference between warm and hot based on touch? Let's pull this in. So this is now the old preamp with the mic, which is working, which is kind of weird. Yeah, working. It doesn't mean it's software. It could be, I mean, I just cut 3 pieces of hardware out, right? But this is the one that has total volume problems, right? So this is the one that doesn't get loud enough. The stream gets quiet when I use this one. Yeah, but if all the audio levels are decreased, that doesn't suggest a fix, Nobu. It just suggests it's not loud enough. But it does mean the mic either isn't not working or is sporadically not working. I guess we're gonna go component by component here then. All right, let's try removing the ground loop isolator. And we'll cut the cloud lifter as well. And of course I gotta turn off phantom power each time we do this or I blow up the mic. So, you know, fingers crossed I remember that each time. I don't know where the fuck that setting is. Toggle button, found it. So that's the PreSonus box. Not passing anything through. Huh. Like, is that even consistent? Does that even make sense? All right, we turned on the stream. Mic was working, it was staticky. At some point, randomly, without changing a physical setting, the mic goes out. We're touching the mic, we're not touching anything else. Okay. We pull out. So the setup is, maybe we need this on stream. Yeah, we do. All right, let's get out Paint. Because Paint is God's gift to streamers. All right, why are you just tiny? It's all right, Nobu. Consider this building content for the channel. I appreciate it. I don't know why my green screen's fucking up either, but whatever. One problem at a time, right? If only life would do that too. Only give you one problem at a time. That would be nice. Okay. I can't draw a microphone. Does Paint help? I'm sure it helps. Are there shapes in Paint? I don't think it matters. All right, we're just gonna do boxes. It's fine. Maybe. All right. Just gonna think where it actually starts. Can I select the fucking box? God damn it. Alright, what way do we want to do this? So maybe put the original setup on the screen and then talk about which ones we're testing and figure out where that works from that. So at the moment, it's really not clear why none of this is fucking working. Okay. Thin rectangles, I guess, is what we're doing. Okay. And now draw another one. Thanks. No. 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 Can we move you up? Thank you. I think it's about 6 layers for the first one, I think. So this is normal. So we can label these. Okay. All right. I know that's not how you spell meter, but that's how they spell their product. Okay. All right, so this is the normal setup. I guess there's one more box, which would be OBS. Normally. So it's a pretty simple setup with not a lot of moving parts that could go wrong. Okay. Do we need lines, chat? Or are we good? Can we get the idea that it's top down? Okay. Okay. Chat, are you guys gonna really just sit here and talk about how bad webcam quality sound is? No shit. That's why we don't stream on a webcam. That's very clever. Do you guys want like fucking channel point rewards for like the most clever comment about how bad the webcam sounds? I mean, I can try to like pretend like I'm impressed, like watching like a child draw a picture or something. You know, like your first steps. Oh, look how good you are! Did you manage to do your toilet training on your own? I mean, you got it right there in the fucking in the bin, in the basin. Nice work. All right. We don't get that out of our system. Maybe we can actually work on what's going on here. All right. So the other setup, which should be simpler, is what's this other one fucking called? It's called it's a Behringer. Okay. Oh, I guess this would technically be the PC. All right, hold on. Can I copy that? I can move it. Can I move it after I think if I select something else, I'm fucked, right? I guess I could have drawn around it. I select this again. Perfect. Exactly what I wanted to do. Okay, so this lets us start, right? because this is our normal setup on the left, and this is the kind of simplified setup that we just tested with. And the one on the right worked, and the one on the left did not. Now there's a fuck ton more pieces in there, but even when I pulled voice meter immediately, and just direct input from the mic to OBS, and that didn't fix it. We pulled the ground loop isolator as well to just simplify. That didn't work. I tried changing channels in the audio box. There's 2 input channels from the mic. That didn't fix anything. I tried pulling the cloud lifter, which should just make it really quiet. That didn't fix anything. So the simplified version of this was essentially just USB to box, box to mic, mic to OBS. And that wasn't working. The problem was it didn't not work all the time. It not worked some of the time, which is, of course, twice as difficult to troubleshoot, right? So I guess I want to see if I can make that configuration work at all. Because if that configuration works at all, then maybe we get some information. This one worked too, where I replaced the PreSonus audio box with the preamp, the other older preamp. Yeah, I did try restarting everything. The problem with restarting everything is it worked for a little bit, although it still had the static issues, and then it died. No, I'm not getting... The PreSonus actually doesn't have visual indicators like that, right? It's got one power indicator, and that's the only indicator on the PreSonus box, right? It doesn't show any of that stuff. It's just not what it visibly... Oh, it does have clipping. Hold on. It has 2 clipping things for the channels, but I can't even get those to light up at all. Right now I can't get any indication that the mic is live when it's going through that at all. Which makes me right now my finger is right here on the audio box having just randomly died on us. That's where my current best guess is. Yes, I did switch USB ports at 1.1 heart. Because my first thought, because the ground loop isolator has a little icon, little power indicator on it, and it was red, and I suddenly couldn't remember if it was supposed to be fucking green or red. So I suddenly wondered if it was in like a USB port that wasn't providing power for it, so I switched the type of USB port that it was connected to. But it didn't change anything. So I guess what I want to do for sanity's sake is same USB, go through the left side and then go through the right side and see if we get actual change from the mic being totally dead to being alive again. So I think I want to start there, I think. Definitely open from chat if you have suggestions, but I think that sanity-wise lets me start double-checking again, right? So we'll go full normal setup, then we'll go simplified normal setup, and then we'll go into old setup. I guess this is maybe not called, maybe I should call this old setup for sanity's sake. Oops. So I can, why does it do that? I don't want it to do that. I just want it to, I guess I can just, it's the last thing I added, but it still feels weird to have to do it that way. Why can't I not select text again in Paint after I've added it? I should vent more in chat's dumb suggestions. Yeah, I get some enjoyment out of streamers ranting at their chat too, but probably not. PowerPoint may have been a better option. Probably. Okay, so let's start with that. So first things first, I need to re-add that setup as it is. And the nice side of doing that is I guess by re-adding it, I've essentially redone all of the plugs too. So if there's a physical issue from the connection, for example, that should be slightly addressed, maybe. Gotta remember the fucking, do not let me forget, chat, the phantom power thing, because if the mic is fine and I run phantom power through it when it's no cloud lifter, I'll blow it up, right? So let's try this again. power cycle in this box somewhere? I mean, I guess pulling it out did power cycle it. Okay. Alright, so this is the webcam mic. Let's make sure OBS sees this input. I'm going to skip the audio meter for now, which means I need to add a line, okay? So this should be the line coming in off the audio box. Alright, so that's in. It's mono channel right now, which is just a setting, but it is volume. There's volume in there again. So that's kind of weird. This should be really, I don't know why it should be so fucking quiet for you guys. It might be missing software gain right now. I guess let's pull it in through the actual, yeah, I know it's mono channel, but that's a software thing, right? That's voice meter. I guess I can plug it back in through voice meter. Voice meter doesn't even see it right now.
Quitters never win.
All right, back to the webcam mic for a second as I try to fix that. Problem is, once you plug and unplug stuff while Windows is open, it like fucking on the fly updates shit, right? So you have to make sure every time that you do this that all your system components are talking where they should be talking, right? So that they see the right inputs and output the right outputs for this. So that is still correct on the Windows settings. Although when I go through, I understand this mic's not live right now. I'm doing webcam right now. When I go through fucking software though, it's not seeing it at all. Voice meter doesn't see it right now. I wonder if I can restart voice meter. Probably. Okay, there we go. So now it sees the mic input. It's still really quiet though. Like it's not getting the boost, but it should be. So this then is essentially the normal microphone setup, but it's really quiet. Why would it be really quiet now? We haven't fucked with any of the audio settings. So that's this. This is the far left setup right now. This one here. And it's working, but it's working quietly, right? Like this is quiet for you guys, presumably. This is lower audio output settings than it would be. It's not a low mic setting. because I haven't changed physical settings and I haven't changed software settings. I mean, I have more volume, I have more gain available, but I'm pretty sure I wasn't using it before, which means that something has changed, of course. But that's the fucking box again, right? So if there's an issue with the box, the PreSonus box, it might not be, for example, providing full power to the cloud lifter right now. So instead of providing the phantom power the cloud lifter needs, it might be giving us less. Get rid of them. Because they won't keep for 2 weeks. Yeah. Yeah, the phantom power on the audio box shows as on. I mean, it's enabled, so it's definitely on. The indicator's glowing too, but it feels like it's not all there, right? It's too quiet. So second potential red flag on the PreSonus audio box, right? So gain's almost full here. So there's full gain on the box. Mike's about 3 years old. 5 years old? 5 years old. Okay, so there's, yeah, that's full gain. But I guess the point is this morning we weren't at full gain, right? So if we're suddenly getting lower overall audio output levels, it would be nice to know why. Because if it's something fucked up, we could just have this happen again, right? And ideally, I understand what's going on. Let's turn it down just a little bit there, so I'm not clipping quite as much. Are you guys getting, let me make sure the webcam's not on as I asked this. Are you guys getting the same issue that started all this morning? You still getting static through there? Yeah. All right. So after an hour of this, what we've been able to do is get to back to where we were with the initial problem that started it. That's good. That's a good start. Not a good start. Yeah, the whole setup is quieter than it normally is. Which is kind of weird too, right? Correct. Static at high gain isn't surprising, but the problem is the surprising bit is the difference, right? If I log off last night with audio settings that are performing as normal, i.e. no static, with the setup listed on the left, and this morning we log on and we have static, and now we have the gain turned up more than it is to get to the same audio levels and static, something's fucked up. Everything's in the system right now. One heart. The whole setup's in the system right now. There wasn't a Windows update last night. And there was a Windows update recently that fucked with sound settings, but I think we undid that. It certainly hasn't changed between last stream and today. It's okay. I don't mind troubleshooting thoughts right now. Could there be an issue with the cloud lifter? The cloud lifter is I feel like the cloud lifter would be very difficult to fail here since there's no moving parts in the cloud lifter. So it just sits on the desk. It hasn't been knocked. It hasn't been bumped. I mean, I can remove the cloud lifter and check, sure, but I'm not sure what it seems unlikely that's the piece, right? So, all right. So that means to do that, we go, all right, let me turn the mic off temporarily. Switch back to the webcam, kill the phantom power, unplug the cloud lifter. All right, so it's actually the other way, Fudgenator, that blows it up. This way would just be, oh no, it would be this way that would blow it up. Yep, okay. So cloud lifter's out of the system. Let me switch to that mic. Everything in the system has moving parts. You can't see them. I don't think the cloud lifter has moving parts. I don't think it does. Isn't it just, I guess I don't know that. I guess I don't know that. So this then is the system without the cloud lifter. I plugged any new devices into the apartment. New devices? Into any wall socket in the house? I don't know what my wife's doing. I'm sure something has been plugged in or not plugged in since yesterday. 100%. All right, so this is the system with the cloud lifter removed. Can you guys tell static at this level of gain? What if I turn the gain up? I'll max the gain on the PreSonus box and see what you guys hear. So that's maxed gain on the PreSonus. Static's still there. Okay. Yeah, that's why the cloud lifter's in there, Nobu. That's literally what that component does, is make the overall output louder. That's why it's in the setup at all. Got louder because I got way closer to the mic, right? I went from normal sitting position of about 5 inches to 1 inch. You can't remove the preamp entirely because it's an XLR mic. So it has to be converted XLR to USB somewhere. All right, so I'm still on PreSonus box being the problem here. And I guess, so the problem is this, right? So the other amp, which is why I bought, or the other preamp rather, which is why I bought the fucking preamp, I think puts out, I think it's 32 Phantom, and I think the cloud lifter wants 48. So I think my understanding is the old preamp basically can't run the cloud lifter, really. I always miss out cloud lifter, cloud booster is cloud lifter. So I can put the old preamp back in the system to see if it cleans static up, which I think we did. We got audio working with that. But does it tell us anything useful? Where did I find the fucking output on the phantom power? On this, it might not even have phantom power. Maybe it doesn't have phantom power. Maybe that's why. Actually, I don't see anything saying about phantom power here. I guess I gotta Google that real quick on the old one. Okay. So what is this? This is the Behringer. Says 12 to 15 volts of phantom power, but I can't even see the fucking option for turning that on this. I mean, it's a pretty simple interface, and there's just not something for that. Does plugging that in to see if it works do anything for us? I mean, we did that earlier. I'm not sure it helps us though, right? If we're trying to figure out, how else do I figure out if the What else can we do to test the PreSonus box to see if it's failing or not working as it should be? I mean, that could be the other piece if that little, how do we test that too? So we have a ground loop isolator in there. How do we test if the ground loop isolator is failing? So for example,
Merry
all the
Christmas
power
to
passes
you
through
and your
that. In the
family,
setup, if you
Filthy.
look, that's
I
step
hope
2.
all is
So the
going
USB
well for
power
you
passes from the
outside of the
PC
current
through the
moment.
ground loop
And
isolator
thank
to
you
the
for all
PreSonus
the
box.
amazing content.
So if that second piece there, the ground loop isolator, has failed, which is the most recent, if that's the most recent, then it's the most recent piece, right? But if that piece has failed, and then we're getting things like inconsistent power to the PreSonus box or whatever else, that could certainly be an issue. But I don't know how to test if that's failed either. Really? Swap in a different interface? Well, but it doesn't tell us if the audio box has failed, right? If I swap in a different interface, which the only other interface I have available is the other, is this interface on the right, the second line of stuff over here. The problem is it removes all those pieces, right? Like I don't run a ground loop isolator in that setup. So we're removing multiple pieces and not able to test the piece I want to test unless I'm missing something. Thanks, White Boy J. Cole, for the resub, man. This is not generally what I consider amazing content, but certainly keeps us busy. Helicopter's back. See ya, Nobu. Oh, you definitely wrecked it. It's just probably not your fault. You just called attention to the fact it's got a problem right now. How do I test the audio box? Yeah, but what do we, okay, so sure, I can remove the ground loop isolator, but what do we get? What information do we gain from that, right? So we're hoping that static goes away, but helicopter comes back kind of deal is what we're hoping. Let's put the cloud lifter back in too. All right. Okay, so let me turn the gain down a little bit. Sorry, guys. So that's with the cloud lifter back in the system, with the ground loop isolator out. Well, it should make it louder because the cloud lifter is this component here. The cloud lifter component literally just makes it louder. Basically, it provides clean gain, so it's supposed to make it louder without any noise. But what's going on with helicopter? Because the ground loop isolator is in there because we have a grounding issue with this setup. So it sounds like there's a small fucking black helicopter circling my head as I stream without it. So are we getting static and or helicopters?
A renewal. Welcome back.
Yeah,
Resetting the settings I see.
Sub, man.
How is it going?
Good internet
Finally
at home?
good
Yes, we
internet
finally
at
have
home.
internet at home. So we might as well go and have another problem now. I sound low. Okay, I just turned the gain down, so I can fuck with the gain a little bit. But again, the issue, I guess turning the gain up helps with you guys identifying if you hear these other problems. No static? Is that true? There's no static here? I mean, I still see mic level jumping around when I'm not talking, which means it picks up something. And that could just be background hum. I can turn it way up. That should give us the best. I mean, careful, guys. This isn't going to be super, super loud, but it's going to be louder than it is now. So I'll give you guys like 10 seconds to figure that out if you want to like take off headphones or whatever else. But I want to give you guys the best chance of hearing static. So I'm going to max the hardware gain right now. All right, there's hardware gain maxed. You guys are not hearing static when I talk, or you are? There might be a hum because as it maxes out, it's going to pick up things like my CPU fan. Yeah, Hellriki, sure. In general, yes, but we're not trying to do that right now. We're trying to max the gain so that we have the highest chance of hearing static if static's on the line, right? So with the ground loop isolator out of the picture, static goes. Yeah, it should be clipping as I talk right now because we just maxed the gain. I don't know why we're on that. I mean, I can certainly turn that down again when we're done testing that, like right now, but yeah, anyways. No helicopter either, but the helicopter is not something that, it was intermittent, right? So sometimes the charge was built up enough that there was a problem, sometimes not for that. So is our best guess right now the ground loop isolator? Since the PreSonus box seems to be working right now, am I missing a step that would suggest that the PreSonus box is still the culprit here? Is the gain higher than I normally run it right now? It might be slightly higher. It's right around those same levels, maybe a little bit close. All right, let me put the ground loop isolator back in. Well, I got a question for you, chat. Can we do this on, can we check the ground loop isolator adding static to the line by running it through the old setup? Like, the old setup is just quieter. That's all the old setup is. It will change what preamp's running as opposed to the PreSonus box. It'll be running the Behringer. But if we put the ground loop isolator in between these two steps on the right setup, between these two here, that should potentially, I can't think of a reason why it wouldn't at least test that, right? So let's test that and see. All right, give me a second as I fuck with settings again. Back in a moment. So this is webcam mic again as I talk through this for a second. So the only real issue here is that to do it a fair test, I really kind of want to add the voice meter component to this to make sure it's running through the same software. I think I can do that. I think it just takes a second. Give me just a second to figure that out. So that gets me nothing at all. Like, no, the software doesn't see the mic, and the OBS doesn't. So neither OBS nor voice meter see the mic then, like any input from it all. Let me try removing voice meter entirely from that system and one more check, and then we'll pull the ground loop isolator and make sure that setup still is running without it. All right, so this, wrong one. So this then is, so that's interesting. So it just doesn't like the software stuff. So this is now through, this is directly, this is skipping voice meter entirely. So maybe voice meter just isn't seeing that input for some reason. I wonder why that might be. Did restart voice meter after changing that. It should be the direct input there. I mean, oh, there it goes. All right, well. Okay, so that's through voice meter now with this setup with the ground loop isolator. All right, I can read chat again. Let's take a look real quick. Yes, voice meter is essentially controlling where everything goes, but we want to rule out issues with this, right? Make sure that's not some issue with that for sure. Okay, so we're back to this right now. Where USB on P, we've added the ground loop isolator here. Let me just draw an arrow right now. I get an arrow from this. Okay, who cares? All right, so we've added ground loop isolator here. Are you guys, so this is the static check. So you guys should be, what I want from you guys is to let me know if I'm getting static or not. Yeah, I did reset the audio engine in voice meter. Yep. It's all good now. I mean, that's great that it's working, I guess. But the problem is it doesn't tell us what's happened. So this is the cloud lifter removed, the PreSonus box removed, going through my old preamp with the ground loop isolator involved. So why the fuck would this be static free compared to the other setup? My wife just brought me a donut. I'm going to start munching on that, by the way. So what I'm glad it's working, but now we need to know why the other setup, what component of the other setup, what changed from the other setup to this setup has helped fix that. This is the part that drives me nuts, right? I don't mind systematically going through and testing each of these parts. That's not particularly bothersome. It takes a little bit of time, but it's fairly sanity inducing. But this is sanity reducing for me right now. Why would this setup have no sound issues in it? We're a little louder than I normally run. I don't know why this box is running so loud right now either. Normally it doesn't run this loud, so it's a bit weird to me. So I can turn the gain down slightly here, and then you guys won't hear quite as much background noise because I'm clipping out right now a couple times. Or clipping rather right now. So that should be, it's not quite there. How about now? It's a little bit better. Still just a little bit. Let's see. You isolated the problem to the PreSonus. Have I? All right, so we're looking for static and or noise that wasn't on the line earlier in the stream. And it's kind of, I don't understand why it would be this loud either. Like the whole issue with the first setup was we could never get the gain high enough with this mic. It just didn't seem to be powerful enough to do that. And of course I got to tear down this whole fucking setup tonight because I'm physically traveling, which means that I got to rebuild it, you know, in 3 days when I get there kind of deal. So what do I rebuild it with? Do I bring them both? I mean, you're not wrong, One Heart, One Mind. I guess the issue for me is that imagine that this device right here, the ground loop isolator, has failed in some way, right? And maybe the fail is essentially if it gets like, so what happened last night between this last night's stream and this morning's stream, right? I knocked the mic twice maybe, just like gently, but the mic's, I don't know. Could that have jiggled the fucking ground loop isolator hanging in its spot in the connection? And if there's something wrong with the ground loop isolator, like maybe it's something physical, for example, does motion or changing or touching it deal with that in some way? In other words, is it an intermittent problem that I seem to have for every other time I have problems? It's never something as nice and solid as a component has fully failed or not fully failed. So is there a world in which, for example, this is working right now, but imagine, for example, that all the setup was exactly that we had just transported this to the first setup instead of the second setup, it might be working just fine right then as well, because essentially the ground loop isolator has failed in some way. Isolator will fail because of heat. Like its own heat? Can it... Like, it does feel warm. It feels warm to the touch. I mean, I guess I'm going to go fucking jiggle it. And then when I jiggle it, if I get static on the line, we'll see. Maybe I can introduce what might have happened last night, maybe. That way also I can get off camera and have a bite of this donut. Two thoughts here. The ground loop isolator is noticeably less hot than it is in the other setup. This setup pulls less power, right? Because it doesn't run the cloud lifter. The second setup. By the way, if static returns at all, chat, please tell me. So could we, for example, I don't know why it would have been something that happened now, because I've been running the setup on the left, my normal audio setup, I've been running for a couple months now. But right now, noticeably to the touch, the ground loop isolator is cooler in this setup. Presumably because less power on this setup, right? Doesn't power the cloud lifter. Has a lower power preamp. So I guess the question is, maybe what we need is a ground loop isolator that does a little bit better with running power through it and heat management, like a more expensive ground loop isolator to run the left setup. Could that possibly be part of the issue? That was only half rhetorical. I was actually hoping to get some input from you guys in chat. Know what the fuck's going on. Donut is really good. Yeah, but I'm not sure you're catching this, One Heart, One Mind. So what you've told me about the ground loop isolator is that the ground loop isolator will fail with heat-related issues. I don't know this for a fact, but generally when you run more electricity through something, it gets hotter, right? When I was touching the ground loop isolator on the left setup, it was noticeably warm to the touch. When I touch the ground loop isolator on the right setup, it is noticeably cooler compared to what it was in the other setup. That's with roughly the same amount of time going right now, right? Let me just touch it again to make sure. Yeah, right now it's not even warm to the touch. And on the other setup, it's between warm and hot to the touch. Yeah, it is doing less work. We know it's doing less work because the cloud lifter requires phantom power. The PreSonus audio box provides phantom power. And any way you look at that, even if the PreSonus audio box drew the same amount of power as the Behringer on its own, the minute you add the cloud lifter to the system, it needs to provide more. So, but maybe it's not a breaking thing, One Heart, One Mind. Although I still don't understand why it would be different from the last 3 months I've used it versus now. But imagine it's just a straight up heat, amount of heat kind of thing, right? So it might not be breaking as it heats up this much, but it might be heating up past the point where it does its job as well. How do we? Because okay, because even for a moment, let's say that this setup is working fine as is, which it seems to be right now, which is kind of weird to me because the reason why I changed the setup in the first place was the issue of not getting loud enough. I couldn't get the gain high enough on this mic. So even for a second, ignoring the fact that for some reason the old setup is working, how do we then test the theory that the ground loop isolator is getting too warm in the other setup and that's causing the static? Should there be no static for when I initially turn it on kind of deal as it takes a little bit to warm up? Are ground loop isolators? I don't know enough about this component, One Heart, One Mind. This was kind of your suggestion for me. Do these things have like a heat rating that they're good for? Like in other words, are systems that draw more power and therefore more heat going to use a more highly rated ground loop isolator, or are they all basically the same fucking thing? Chad, you guys are wondering about Cyberpunk. I want to point out to you that the viewership for this troubleshooting of the sound equipment is actually higher viewership than it was for Cyberpunk most of the time I was streaming that. Just FYI. Yeah, that's what I figured. It probably has a max thermal load. So whatever? So what happens when it goes past its max thermal load? Can it do permanent damage to itself? I guess I'm trying to get at what could have changed between yesterday's setup where we weren't having this problem with today's setup this morning when we did. Maybe, Demi. I don't really know. I don't know how to check that either particularly easily. Audio has been one of the hardest parts of streaming from a technical perspective for me, chat. Quite honestly. Yeah, I wondered about that. It can permanently damage itself from overheat. Can that accrue over time? Like the damage that it's dealt to itself? If it's damaged, shouldn't we see the issue now? I don't know. I don't know how the component works well enough to answer that. Because if it damaged itself, but it damaged itself essentially at how much heat it can deal with, let's say that, for example, I don't know, there's some insulation or something that's slowly being degraded over as it runs too much heat through it. We might not see the problem at lower levels of power, like this particular setup that we're running right now, setup 2, the old setup. I don't know enough how the physical components of that thing are structured, right? Which we have an expert in channel who might. One Heart, One Mind knows a fuck ton about this stuff. So that's what I'm working for. That's what I want to solve right now or get to right now, chat, is I want to figure out a working hypothesis as to what the hell has happened and then ways to test that. I don't mind buying another piece of hardware for this. And I feel like inevitably there's just an upkeep cost with your hardware. Sooner or later you're going to have to invest in new hardware. Why did the audio cut? In what way? You mean this morning when we started? What do you mean now? Did something change right now? I'm quieter now than I was? All right, one heart, one mind. I'm with you on that. But we have issues on the old setup, so far that's consistent. Is it plausible, one heart, one mind, to have a setup right now where we're running the ground loop isolator, but because the power draw on it isn't that high, that even in a damaged state, it could be working fine? Is that a plausible reality? Yeah, so that's my working hypothesis for what we got going on right now. Although I'm still not sure we ruled out the PreSonus box. Like, it could still be that too. Although I don't know how to test for that as well. I guess if I pulled... What happened? Do you guys remember? What the hell happened when I pulled the ground loop isolator out of the setup with the Cloud Lifter and PreSonus box? Did we get it... Was it fine but staticky? Was that the issue? I mean, honestly, it shouldn't even be staticky. It should be black helicopter-y, right? We should be hearing that blade sound, or rotor sound. So I guess what I'm asking is, should I buy another ground isolator? A ground loop isolator, rather? And one perhaps with a bit higher tolerance for heat? I mean, I think this was just a cheapie, the one we picked up, right? It's like a $75 component. I think. Under 100 anyways. All right, you're not convinced it's the ground loop isolator yet? Okay. So how do we continue to narrow it down between the ground loop isolator and the PreSonus box? This has been a good break, chat. Getting to eat my donuts was fucking amazing. Well, this is further complicated by the fact that I'm leaving tonight, and I'm bringing this setup with me. So what I could do, for example, is today, post-stream, order the next component and have it delivered to my parents' place. If there was a physical component. Give me 2 seconds to get rid of this plate. We're back. Land of terrible drivers. Land of terrible drivers exists everywhere. I don't know how to rule this out. And thing is, I don't actually want to be on my old setup, because my old setup we changed away from for the reasons that it had problems. And I don't know currently why I'm having no issues with total gain, but I was. So the idea of coming back to the old setup is a little unpleasant for me, because I could see having problems shortly. All right, what helps? So we want a list of things we've tried with outcomes. Nah, right now we are. Okay, I got an idea. All right. Gotta think visually how to do this. Okay. Don't rule the box out. Go for everything else, like spreadsheet, isolator. Yeah, that's a good idea too. Look at the other components. Using these rectangles like spreadsheet shells. Yeah, I could convert this. You guys want to convert this to a spreadsheet? That's fine. I just initially drew it for trying to think of the easy way to interface. But the biggest problem with this is I can't seem to move the components around after I put them on the paint. It doesn't like keep them as components. It seems to convert it to a picture once I've done it. I don't know why. All right, let me pull up a Google Doc of some sort here. All right, I guess I can update stream title too. Just chatting category, easily done. All right. Now let's fire up a, what is this? It's a Chrome targeting. What is this? Untitled spreadsheet sounds right. Okay. Open up Chrome, close Paint, and there we go. All right. So these categories are probably going to move around a little bit, but I want to get at least the normal setup and the old setup there. And then we can maybe start narrowing down which tests we've run and which ones we haven't. All right, so normal setup is... It's like 7 components or something stupid, right? Okay, so this is... I mean, I guess I can fill in. I'm doing this anyways. What is it? SH? Yeah. Sure, 7MB, right? SM7B. There we go. Okay. that's the normal setup. All right, old setup, which is the one with, so do I want these like numbered too, maybe? I'm not sure. Okay. Dude, that's such a weird one. Xenix, Xenyx. Okay. All right, that's the very old setup. The current test we're running right now, I guess we need to like look at what setups we've done. Okay, setups and outcomes, right? That's what we want. So the issue is static what's the day, the 20th? Okay. All right, that's the old setup here. I guess we can look at what we've tested. I kind of want to keep voice meter in the mix as much as possible, I think. All right, the setup we're running right now was this here, but we've added 2 components, right? Oops. So we added the ground loop isolator, and then we added voice meter. And this has no problems from chat, supposedly. And okay. I'm really glad it's not the mic, because it did some weird shit this morning. It went from me touching nothing to not working without changing anything. Now, what is changing when I'm not changing anything? Components are heating up, right? That's a thing that happens. So I fired up the stream. No Boom noted pretty early in a couple minutes. Within a couple minutes, she's like, you're staticky. I started messing with software settings initially and checking connections, and then the mic went out entirely, which made me think, fuck Mike. But I guess it could have been heat on the stupid ground loop isolator. All right, so let's take a look. So what do we want to, okay, so we've done that. Other test setups we've run, we ran it. I guess, I don't remember all the ones we've done now, but which other ones do we want to do? We can redo them, it's fine. I randomly get a Windows driver update. No, not in the middle of my stream, I didn't. The last Windows driver update was maybe like a week ago, and I dealt with all the fucking bullshit it added. It did add some shit, because I have a MSI motherboard, which it immediately tried to add some, I think it was MSI. Anyways, there was some stupid software that they added that I had to remove, but it's done now. Does voice meter register the static on my microphone? I don't know how voice meter sees static, so to the best of my knowledge, no, but it might, but I'm just not seeing it. Okay, so what from here then? Let me just scroll up. So Demicot said, you only need isolator box A, box B, and a lifter as a variable. Yes. Although I can remove voice meter, and I can use different mics, although I don't know we're going to get a lot of information from the webcam mic. Okay. Got any studying focus tips? Turn off distractions like Twitch. Set realistic goals. Don't allow yourself breaks until you've met your timestamps for that. Things like that. If I say nothing, does a little microphone flicker on a very low level? Yes. Oh shit, you know what else I don't have right now on this fucking one? as he says that, which is a really good point. I don't think I have the filters on. I think I do have filters on. No, I don't have filters on. So that's interesting because it doesn't with this setup. Let me see what it says on voice meter, actually. It might on voice meter. Yep, low level flickers on all of them. All right. So what do we want to run for test setups then, chat? Static is pre-voice meter with that. Why do we not see static on the output then? It's just too quiet, the static. Aren't you going to get static? I've never had a mic not do some movement, ever. And I can't tell the difference between static on a mic when it's really low level and background noise too, right? There's always background noise, right? There's always going to be a CPU fan. All right, so what do we want next then, setting-wise? So our goals at the moment, I think, are we want to test the PreSonus box and test the ground loop. Okay. Is my volume lower than I'd like on the setup? Not right now, it's not, but it's I've had struggled with that in the past, so I don't know why it isn't now one heart, one mind. So it's not a satisfactory. I mean, it's a short-term satisfactory outcome to be like this setup will run this setup, but it's not a long-term satisfactory output for, thing for me. I don't have a spectrometer. Isolator box. Isolator box A plus lifter. Isolator box. Isolator plus box plus lift plus B box plus lifter. I can't though, because box A and box B don't both run the lifter, right? So box A is this. This one, I guess. It's really box B. Do we want to call it A or B? Call it A for simplicity. It's just going to fuck with my head because it's the second one I have, which has 48 volts of phantom. And this setup here, which we'll call B, I guess, has 12. And the cloud lifter wants 48. I don't play MTGA still. Have I tried it on the low power? No, we can try it on the low power if you want. I think what it will, I mean, it's weird because the reason why you add a cloud lifter is your gain isn't loud enough, which has been the issue I've had. It might be a set, I mean, this might literally be, it might be loud enough right now because I'm sitting abnormally close to the mic when I'm doing this. I normally sit probably about here as I'm playing with the mic about there. I don't know, I'm not sure I got any closer or further away and it still sounds fine. But we left the old setup because we could not get enough gain out of this old setup. And I'm not sure why right now I'm getting plenty of gain. And because, you know, the reason why you run a cloud lifter is because a cloud lifter ups your gain. Yeah. All right, let's, all right, what are we tracking? Okay, so I see the tests. I think I can see some of the iterations of the tests. What are we tracking on them? We're just looking for static, yes, no. What else? I guess it'd be helicopter, yes, no. Okay, the heat of the... All right, that's a good question. How long until issue? Secondary uses a home heater. Yeah, for sure. My cam's supposed to have static in the background. We're just gonna turn. I'm gonna turn off the green screen for now because I just don't want. I don't want any focus on that right now. Right? Let's just ignore that fact for a second. I don't know why the fucking green screen's acting up this morning. I don't care. I can figure that out another time. Okay. All right. So we want about 5-minute tests. Okay. We can do that. We can run 5-minute tests on this. That's easily done. Okay. So let's start with these then. So let me just design the test then, get you guys to sign off on it, then we'll run through them. Okay. I don't know how many we're going to need yet, but I want to just think what the iterations would be. So I think the first thing we want to do, is I want to duplicate the problem on the normal setup, right? So what we want to do is answer these questions on the normal setup. Because right now we're running this setup, which apparently has no problems. We've been on it more than 5 minutes. Heat's normal, no helicopters, right? So it's, all right, I guess I answer these in choice. What is this, third one? Okay, so it goes. Nope. Was that fucking F11? Units on the 5. Which 5? Okay. I think it's volts. Right? That's what, yeah, it's definitely volt. I think it's a capital V. What's the difference between lowercase v and capital V for nomenclature for units? I'm not sure. I'm not sure there is one. But it's marked as capital V on the PreSonus box, so I guess I should probably fucking do what it says. Yeah. All right. So we want to duplicate the, I'm going to go back to the normal setup that's having static issues and make sure we get them and see how long it runs. So let me just do a couple things here. I'll check the heat on the ground loop right now. And I will then switch setups. Volt is always capital V? Okay. All right, I guess, how do we, how specific do you guys want to be for temps? I don't think I have something that will take its temperature, but it is, it's barely above room. So it's barely noticeable as warmer than a component would be. Like I can tell by touching it that it has heat on it, but it's not warm, right? It's just, anyways, I don't know how to describe that better than that. All right, let's try it. Let's go to the normal setup now. I'm gonna inevitably blow up my fucking mic doing this, I'm sure. At some point I'm gonna forget about the phantom power. All right. All right, 2 seconds. I know this is webcam mic. Let me just get the stuff sorted out and we'll start testing timing. So this is, I need to just, okay. Not planning. Well, maybe we'll see. Okay, chat. This is the normal setup. And I guess we're going to start it now, essentially. And I want a timer. Fuck is it on my stupid phone? No, I don't want a bedtime. I want a fucking timer. There we go. All right, we'll give that about 5 minutes. This is what I'm saying. Like, this is why these types of issues drive me nuts, one heart, one mind, is because they take incredible amounts of time to troubleshoot, and then they periodically change. Yeah, this is the normal setup, chat. This is this setup. The only thing I can think of right now is maybe, let's take a look at the gain here. Hilariously, this is quieter than the other setup, I believe, but with, I think the gain's almost maxed. Right, exactly. Heat could be the issue here because the ground loop isolator just got switched over from running cool to running with this setup, which draws phantom power, so it draws more voltage through the pieces. Yeah, exactly. Right. Chat, are you guys finding this strangely satisfying this morning? Because I'm finding this strangely satisfying this morning. I guess because I have no other, like, I was just gonna stream kind of a small game today, right? Which is the last spell, which I've enjoyed, but doesn't have like huge viewership. And this is like right before I'm traveling. Like, it kind of for me feels like if it's gonna fail, like, it's a little unfortunate it failed today, but like, fuck, this is not that bad of a time. Better than like in the middle of like a Battle Brothers, like, you know, release day or something. She's like, you doing your job on a Sunday? Oh, I'm sorry, man. Your help is super appreciated. So, but I understand if you're like, fuck this, I don't want to go to work on a Sunday. I totally understand, man. It's no big deal. All right. From a static perspective, you guys get no static, huh? I see Mike bouncing around a little bit. I'm certainly not suggesting I do this regularly, but I was surprised. Like, normally this stuff really, really frustrates me, but I think having the chat as like a backup to like sanity check this shit for me helps a little bit, especially with hearing it. It's very difficult for me to hear it because what I have to do is then do some weird thing where I'm like either recording clips and then listening back to them or trying to talk while listening to the output while not live, which is all very annoying. It's okay. I look dashing. Thank you very much. We'll see. This year, some of the things I'm going to invest in a camera this year for mobile streaming. I want to do some climbing streams and I want to do some camping streams with you guys this year. Just showed up? Oh, you just showed up. I see. Right now we're doing mic testing. We have a series of tests we want to do, but you guys are looking for static for me right now is what you guys are listening for. Yep, camping. Dude, I miss camping too. So much. So I think we're gonna, as I said, I think we're gonna try to do a couple of those. I need to make sure I can stream from my phone, make sure the location we're going to will be available for that. Make sure I have the webcam that is mobile enough to capture doing that. But I love the idea of like sitting around a campfire, like chatting with Frigg, chatting with you guys on some nights. It'd be really, really fun. You're partially deaf? Yeah. Chat should be able to help though with things like what physically is coming out of the speakers right now, One Heart, One Mind, as we do conceptual, or as you help with conceptual, right? What's the game in the background? It's called The Last Spell. All right, we're at 3.5 minutes. I'm going to give this, because this failed this morning, I'm going to give this a solid 10 minutes. But it is frustrating to me that we now can't duplicate the problem either. So in other words, after 2.5 hours of troubleshooting, we've gone back to the system that we're troubleshooting and the problem isn't there. How much is gain lower than normal? I think it's about normal right now. I will check the heat on the isolator. I'll do it at 10. I'll do it at 5 and I'll do it at 10. But we're not even to 5 minutes yet. What was my uptime when Nobu ruined everything? Well, let me check my banned chatter list and see the last comment she made. We'll find out. I don't know if I can bring... Can I bring up people's names in here when they're not here? Twitch mod view, right? Bad physical connection, extremely unlikely. Considering we both recheck connection live on stream, and then also the equipment is fairly new and the wiring is fairly expensive. That was one of the things I ruled out early, was kind of went with low-hanging fruit, and I just invested in some high-grade XLR cable, essentially. It was expensive, but I felt like, you know, fuck it, it's worth it. All right, how do I get to mod view, you stupid fucking thing? All right, we're at 5 minutes. Let me touch to the isolator real quick.